There is a kind of silence that is louder than any scream. You know this silence. You have felt it settle into a room like fog rolling in from the sea. It is the silence that comes when someone you love suddenly stops talking. Their eyes shift away, their shoulders drop, and where there was once warmth, there is now a wall you cannot see but can absolutely feel. Maybe you have been on the other side of that wall. Maybe you are the one who builds it. When the hurt comes, when the words of someone you trusted land like stones against your chest, you do not yell, you do not fight, you simply disappear, not your body. Your body stays right there in the chair, at the table, in the bed, but something inside you retreats to a place no one else can reach. Why? Why do some people go quiet when they are hurt? Why do certain souls choose silence as their shield, while others explode into fire and fury? This is not a simple question. The answer lives in the deep waters of the human mind, in the echoes of childhood, and in the ancient wiring of our nervous system. If you have ever been the quiet one, this is for you. If you have ever loved someone who goes silent when they are hurting, this is for you too. We are going to walk through the shadowed hallways of the mind together. We are going to understand what happens behind those eyes that suddenly go distant. And maybe, by the end, we will find a bridge that connects the quiet world to the noisy one. But first, we need to feel it. Close your eyes for a moment if you can. Remember the last time someone hurt you deeply. Not a small hurt, a real one. The kind that makes your stomach drop. The kind that makes you wonder if you ever really knew this person at all. Now remember what happened in the seconds after. Did you feel your throat tighten? Did you notice how the words you wanted to say seemed to dissolve before they could reach your lips? That moment, that exact moment, is where our story begins. The silence of the hurt is not emptiness, it is fullness. It is so full of feeling that there is no room left for sound. And yet, so many people misunderstand this silence. They see it as coldness. They interpret it as indifference. They think the quiet person does not care enough to respond. Nothing could be further from the truth. The person who goes quiet when hurt often cares more deeply than anyone around them realizes. Their silence is not a lack of emotion. It is an excess of it. They are feeling so much that their entire system has been overwhelmed. This is something we need to explore together. Because if we can understand the machinery behind the silence, we can begin to see it for what it really is. Not a wall meant to keep you out, but a shelter built by someone who has been hurt too many times to stay exposed. When danger comes, the human body has 3 ancient responses. You have probably heard of the first 2. Fight, flight. Your heart races, your muscles tense. You either swing your fists or you run for the hills. But there is a third response that most people forget. Freeze. This is the oldest response of all. Long before our ancestors could think about problems, their bodies learned to go still when the threat was too large to fight and too close to escape. Think of a deer caught in headlights. Its legs lock, its eyes go wide. It does not run. It does not charge at the car. It simply freezes, hoping that stillness will somehow save it. This is not a choice. This is biology. And when emotional pain hits hard enough, the same thing can happen inside a human being. The freeze response is not weakness. It is survival. When someone says something that cuts us to the bone, our nervous system can interpret that pain as a threat to our very existence. After all, we are social creatures. Being rejected or attacked by someone we love triggers the same alarm bells in our brain that once rang when a predator appeared at the mouth of our cave. So we freeze. We go quiet. Not because we have nothing to say, but because our body has taken over, choosing stillness as the best way to survive this moment. You might wonder why emotional pain triggers such a primal response. After all, words cannot physically hurt us. A cruel comment from a partner is not the same as a lion leaping from the tall grass. But our brain does not always make that distinction. The part of our brain that processes physical pain and the part that processes social rejection are closely connected. When someone we love hurts us emotionally, our brain can experience it as a genuine threat to our survival. This is especially true for people who have been hurt before. Each new wound lands on top of old scars. The nervous system remembers. It keeps a record of every time vulnerability led to pain. And when that record gets long enough, the freeze response becomes automatic. The body does not wait to see if this time will be different. It assumes the worst and shuts down before more damage can be done. Now, there is an important difference we must talk about. Some people use silence as a weapon. They go quiet to punish. They withhold their words to make the other person suffer. This is called the silent treatment, and it is a form of manipulation. The person doing it knows exactly what they are doing. They want you to feel anxious. They want you to come crawling back, apologizing for things you may not have even done. But this is not the same as going quiet when you are hurt. The truly hurt person who retreats into silence is not trying to control anyone. They are trying to survive. They are not thinking about how their silence affects you. They are barely thinking at all. They are simply overwhelmed. Imagine a cup filled to the very top with water. Now imagine someone pouring more water into that cup. What happens? It overflows. It cannot hold any more. This is what happens in the mind of someone who goes quiet from pain. The cup of their emotional capacity has been filled, and the pain keeps pouring in. There is nowhere for it to go. There are no words that can capture it. Language itself seems to fail. This is emotional overload. And in this state, silence is not a choice. It is the only option left. The quiet person is not ignoring you. They are drowning. And a drowning person does not have the air to call for help. There is something else about emotional overload that deserves our attention. When the pain is too much, the quiet person often experiences a strange disconnection from their own body. They might feel like they are watching themselves from somewhere outside. The world goes slightly blurry. Sounds become muffled. Time seems to slow down or speed up in confusing ways. This is called dissociation, and it is another protective mechanism the mind uses when feelings become unbearable. In this state, even if the quiet person wanted to speak, they might not be able to find themselves enough to form words. They are present, but they are also somewhere else. Somewhere deep inside where the pain cannot reach them quite so sharply. This is not a conscious choice. It is the mind's emergency exit, and some people learn to find it very quickly when hurt arrives. Let us consider a narrative illustration. Imagine a child, small and eager, with bright eyes full of hope. This child lives in a house where feelings are dangerous. When this child cries, they are told to be quiet. When this child is angry, they are punished. When this child tries to explain their hurt, they are met with rolled eyes and heavy sighs. "You are too sensitive," the adults say. "Stop making such a big deal out of nothing." So this child learns. They learn that their voice does not matter. They learn that expressing pain only brings more pain. They learn that the safest thing to do is to swallow it all down and stay very, very quiet. Now imagine this child grows up. They become an adult with a job and friends and maybe a partner who loves them. But deep inside, that small child still lives. And when hurt comes, when someone they trust says something that wounds them, that inner child takes over. The adult mouth closes. The adult eyes go distant. And inside, that small child is doing exactly what they learned to do all those years ago. They are getting quiet to survive. This is the root of so much silent pain. It starts in childhood. It starts in homes where emotions were treated like problems to be silenced rather than messages to be understood. The child who was never allowed to speak their hurt becomes the adult who does not know how. The fascinating thing about these early lessons is how deeply they become wired into us. We do not consciously remember deciding that silence was safer than speech, but our nervous system remembers everything. It encoded these lessons into our very cells, into the patterns of how we breathe and move and respond to threat. This is why telling a quiet person to just speak up rarely works. You are asking them to override years, sometimes decades, of survival programming. You are asking them to walk through a door that, in their experience, has always led to pain. The body resists, the throat tightens, and silence wins again. Not because the person is choosing it, but because they cannot seem to choose anything else. But there is another piece to this puzzle. Some people go quiet, not because their voice was silenced, but because their voice made things worse. Consider another illustration. A child in a home where arguments are explosions. When this child speaks up, the parent does not just dismiss them. The parent erupts. Voices rise, doors slam. Sometimes things get thrown. This child learns a different lesson. They learn that speaking up is like lighting a match in a room full of gasoline. The safest thing to do is to never strike that match. This is the fear of escalation, and it follows people into adulthood like a shadow they cannot shake. When conflict arises, they do not speak because they are terrified of what might happen if they do. In their experience, words do not solve problems. Words make problems explode into something far more dangerous. So they choose silence, not because they do not care, but because they care too much. They are trying to protect the relationship, the moment, and sometimes even the other person from the fire they are sure will come if they open their mouth. For these people, silence feels like the only safe place in the entire world. And there is something noble in this, even if it causes problems in relationships. The person who goes quiet to prevent escalation is often trying to protect others, not just themselves. They have seen what happens when conflicts spiral out of control. In their minds, their silence is a gift. It is their way of saying, "I will not let this conversation become a war." The tragedy is that their partner or friend or family member often does not see it this way. They see the silence and feel abandoned. They see the retreat and feel rejected. What was meant as protection is received as punishment. And so, the quiet person's worst fear comes true anyway. The relationship suffers, not because of explosions, but because of the cold distance that grows in the spaces where words used to be. There is something else happening inside the quiet person that we need to understand. When someone goes silent after being hurt, they are not simply shutting down. Their mind is actually working overtime. Behind those distant eyes is a storm of activity. The quiet person is processing. They are running the conversation back in their head, examining every word, every tone, every look on the other person's face. They are asking themselves questions they cannot yet answer. Did they really mean that? Have they always felt this way? This is the internal monologue of the wounded, and it is exhausting. All of that mental energy that might have gone into speaking is instead going into thinking, analyzing, and trying to make sense of a world that suddenly feels less safe than it did 5 minutes ago. But there is something else happening too, something that might surprise you. When a person goes quiet, they often begin to see the other person more clearly than they ever have before. This is the observation phase. Without the noise of an argument, without the back and forth of raised voices and defensive words, the quiet person is watching. They are noticing things they might have missed if they were busy talking. The coldness in the other person's eyes, the lack of any real concern for the pain they just caused. In silence, patterns become visible. The quiet person starts to connect dots. They remember other times they felt this way with this same person. They see the cycle. And sometimes, in that silence, they begin to understand something painful but important. Maybe this person is not safe. Maybe this relationship has been hurting them for longer than they wanted to admit. Silence can be a mirror. It shows the truth that noise often hides. Of course, this observation goes both ways. The quiet person is also watching themselves. They are noticing their own reactions, their own pain, their own patterns. They are sitting with feelings they might normally try to escape, and this can be incredibly uncomfortable. But it can also be the beginning of real self-understanding. Some quiet people discover profound things about themselves during these silent periods. They realize they have been tolerating treatment they should not tolerate. They recognize patterns in their relationships that keep repeating. They understand, finally, why certain words from certain people hurt them so deeply. The quiet time after hurt is not wasted time. It is processing time. And for many people, it is the only way they know how to heal. Now we come to the most important part of our journey. Understanding the quiet person is valuable, but understanding alone does not build bridges. If you love someone who goes silent when they are hurt, you need to know how to reach them. And if you are the quiet one, you need to know that silence, while safe, can also become a prison. Let us start with those who love the quiet ones. The most important thing you can offer is something called psychological safety. This means creating an environment where the quiet person believes, truly believes, that they can speak without being attacked, dismissed, or punished. This is harder than it sounds, because psychological safety is not just about what you say. It is about what you do, consistently, over time. You cannot tell someone it is safe to talk and then explode when they finally do. You cannot promise to listen and then interrupt with your own defense. You have to prove again and again that their voice will be met with respect. Start small. When you notice them going quiet, do not demand that they speak. Instead, say something like this: I can see something is wrong. I want to understand. Whenever you are ready, I am here. And then give them space. Real space. Do not hover. Do not ask every 5 minutes if they are ready to talk. Let them come to you in their own time. When they do speak, listen. Really listen. Do not plan your response while they are talking. Do not look for ways to defend yourself. Just hear them. Reflect back what you heard to make sure you understood. Ask gentle questions. Thank them for trusting you with their pain. One thing that helps tremendously is to validate their feelings before you address the content of what they said. This might sound like, "That sounds really painful. I can understand why you would feel that way." These simple words tell the quiet person that their feelings are real and acceptable. Avoid the temptation to fix things immediately. The quiet person has been processing this hurt for a while now. They do not need you to solve the problem in the first 5 minutes. They need you to understand it first. Solutions can come later, when both of you have a shared understanding of what went wrong and why it hurt so much. And if you were the one who caused the hurt, own it. Apologize without making excuses. Just say, "I am sorry. I understand why that hurt you. I will do better." These words spoken sincerely, can begin to dissolve walls that have stood for days or even years. This is how you build a bridge to the quiet world. One safe conversation at a time. Now, for those of you who recognize yourselves in the quiet one, this part is for you. Your silence has protected you. It has gotten you through moments that might have destroyed you if you had stayed open and vulnerable. Do not be ashamed of it. It was a survival strategy, and it worked. But here is the truth you might not want to hear. Silence can protect you from pain, but it can also protect you from connection. It can keep out the bad, but it also keeps out the good. And over time, that wall you build can start to feel less like a shield and more like a cage. You deserve to be heard. Your feelings deserve to be expressed. Not every environment is safe for your voice, and you are wise to recognize that. But if you have found someone who is trying to create safety for you, someone who is patient and kind, and genuinely wants to understand, consider taking a small risk. You do not have to share everything at once. You do not have to become someone who talks about every feeling the moment it arises. That is not who you are, and that is okay. But maybe, just maybe, you can let one word slip through the wall, then another, then a sentence. Healing does not mean becoming loud. It means becoming free. Free to choose silence when it serves you, and free to choose words when they serve you too. Here is something that might help. When you feel the silence taking over, try to notice it. Just notice. You do not have to fight it or force yourself to speak. But awareness is the first step. You might say to yourself, "Oh, there it is. I am going quiet because I am hurt." This small act of recognition creates a tiny gap between you and the automatic response. And in that gap, choice becomes possible. Another thing that can help is writing. Many quiet people find it easier to express their feelings on paper than through their voice. The page does not interrupt. It does not get defensive. It simply receives whatever you give it. Try writing a letter to the person who hurt you, even if you never send it. The act of putting words to pain can release some of its pressure. The quiet person carries a weight that others often cannot see. They hold their pain inside because they have learned that the outside world is not always kind to pain. They retreat because they have been burned by the fire of conflict. They freeze because their nervous system is trying to keep them alive. But there is something beautiful in the quiet ones too. They are often the deepest feelers. They notice things others miss. They think before they speak, which means when they do speak, their words carry weight. They have rich inner lives full of thought and reflection and meaning. If you are quiet when you are hurt, know this. Your silence is not a flaw. It is a response. It is a response to a world that was not always gentle with your heart. And while you may want to learn new responses, new ways of being, you do not have to hate the old ones. They got you here. They kept you safe. And if you love someone who goes quiet, know this. Their silence is not about you. It is not rejection. It is not punishment. It is the sound of someone trying to survive a storm inside their own mind. The best thing you can do is be patient, be present, be safe. Silence is not always an absence of thought. Often, it is a presence of too much feeling. The quiet person is not empty. They are so full that words cannot contain it all. And in that fullness, in that heavy, aching silence, there is something worth understanding. There is a human being asking, in the only way they know how, to be seen without having to speak. So the next time someone you love goes quiet, do not rush to fill the space with noise. Do not demand explanations or push for words. Instead, sit with them in the silence. Let them know through your presence and your patience, that they are not alone. Because sometimes, the greatest gift we can give another person is not our words. It is our willingness to be with them in the spaces where words fail. And in that shared silence, something profound can happen. Two people can finally understand each other, not through what is said, but through what is felt. That is the psychology of the quiet ones. That is the hidden language of those who go silent when they are hurt. And now that you understand it, you hold a key that can unlock doors that have been closed for years, a key that can turn silence from a prison into a passage. Use it gently, use it wisely, and always remember that every quiet person you meet is carrying a deep story they have not yet found the words to tell. Maybe, with your help, they will.